It's all on video.
There's a reason it's called the War on Crime. For the next 60 minutes, we'll put you on the front lines. You'll see the scariest pursuits, wildest shootouts, and most outrageous outlaws from around the world. Much of this footage has never been seen before. We've gathered these stories from police.
What do we need to take him out here now?
News agencies, even citizens on patrol, to show you the stark reality that criminals have declared you the enemy. And knowing your opponent is the only way this war will be won.
I'm Sheriff John Bonnell. To a cop, every call is a high-stakes gamble. A traffic stop can turn into a dangerous pursuit. A family fight can explode violently. Officers never want to assume the worst, but they know they should be ready for it, because criminals who push things to the extreme can do it in a hurry.
Wichita, Kansas, where a man is about to prove you really can fight City Hall. Marcus Johnson takes his huge luxury car for a midnight tour of this municipal building. It's an insane act of revenge for a ticket he got a few hours ago. Now, in his rage, Johnson tears through the elevator lobby, leaving a wake of garbage and guards in pursuit. Then he aims for the far security entrance. This is one way to beat a metal detector. Apparently, Marcus passes screening because he goes right on through and hits a wall that's waiting for him outside, where he's nabbed by police. So what infraction prompted this late-night drive-through? Marcus was ticked that cops stopped him that evening for having his stereo too loud. So he decided to make even more noise. His outburst earns him 10 years in prison and $142,000 in restitution. Now, instead of jamming to his tunes, he'll be singing the blues in the Slammer.
Are you in the bank, ma'am?
Buena Park, California. Cops have surrounded a bank where a disturbed man has taken manager Michelle Kwan hostage.
And does someone have a gun in there?
He claims she stole $250,000 from his safe deposit box.
Did you see the gun? Oh, yeah, I see. I can see.
And now he uses an unlikely way to communicate with police.
Something just came out the door. It landed on the sidewalk. It looks like a note pushed through a crack in the door.
But is it a message or is it a trap?
Police aren't going to take any chances. They're unloading that tactical robot here behind the bank.
The employees he released say he not only has a shotgun, but several pipe bombs as well. It's up to the robot to make contact.
They're going to use this robot to get that note. It would be very dangerous for a person to do this.
But the bot will also give them what observers on the ground and in the air cannot. A close-up view through those bank doors. If the SWAT team decides to go in, they need to know the exact location of Michelle and her captor. After grabbing the note, the robot retreats, having spotted the man inside along with his arsenal. He's not messing around. And when police move in, he proves it.
Shot fired.
When the rescuers reach the door, the suspect immediately starts shooting. One SWAT officer stands his ground, returning fire and yanking Michelle into the clear. While she's hustled away, the rest of the team charges inside to disarm the lunatic.
They're going in. I count at least 7 SWAT storming the lobby.
Michelle is unharmed, but the gunman has been badly injured.
There he is. He's on that stretcher. You can see the medics on hand.
And when those injuries heal, he faces 5 life sentences, plus 40 years, for bomb making, extortion, kidnapping, and attempted murder. Police have incredible resources for dealing with hostile situations.
They're unloading that tactical robot here behind the bank.
But so often, it still comes down to cops putting themselves in the crosshairs in a battle of last man standing.
Shots fired.
In Del City, Oklahoma, a chase is unfolding against one of the most amazing drivers law enforcement will ever see.
He's just flying between those cars.
Ground and air units track a Grand Theft Auto suspect down the interstate. So far, conditions have been okay. But they're just minutes from hitting Oklahoma City. This is the time and the place to use the pit maneuver.
They spun him out. He spun out, now heading backwards. Oh, he turned back around. That is unbelievable.
The uncanny driver somehow uses the momentum of the spin and the power of the car to bring it around 360 degrees and keep running. Not believing what they see, the troopers immediately try again.
They hit him again and he spins again. I've never seen anything like this.
This guy's like the Houdini of high-speed chases.
This car is not stopping.
They attempt it from the other side, almost knocking the sports car over the railing. But this cool character's got nerves of steel.
This car is actually speeding away in reverse now.
He revs the muscle car backward and amazingly flips around onto a different road.
He's still going.
But then a cruiser speeds in to deliver a knockout blow. The officer rams him, and this time he doesn't let up until the escape artist gets skewered on a street sign. A young trooper flies out of his car before the crook can pull another slick move.
The OHP troopers now have their guns drawn.
But it takes a 6-pack of officers to seal up his bag of tricks. There are 4 lessons to be learned from this foolproof pit maneuver. 1, nothing is foolproof.
Unbelievable.
2, some perps can take your best shots and not flinch. 3, cops aren't the only ones with mad skills. And 4, it's not over till it's over. Coming up on World's Wildest Police Video, a road-raging bully gets a road-munching mauling. Locked-up gang members really lock horns with their guards. And when violent kidnappers demand a ransom, police look to make them pay. Next.
A pursuit is never just about cops versus a criminal. The police are trained to factor in road conditions, traffic, and even the time of day. And then there's the weather, and knowing how to handle that can sometimes be the only edge an officer needs.
Twiggs County, Georgia. Every pursuit has its share of frightening surprises. But the deputies chasing this wild runner will get the biggest shock of their careers. Lawmen first spotted the miscreant when he drove the wrong way on a busy highway to avoid a police checkpoint. But officers didn't see his passengers, a teenager, a toddler, and a 6-month-old baby.
90 miles an hour.
And if fleeing with them inside isn't dangerous enough, it's starting to rain. Despite the treacherous conditions, the hard-charging hood accelerates along the slick streets and launches over train tracks. Then, as the showers subside, the fugitive tries his luck on a dirt road. It's not just a bad idea, it's a catastrophic one.
He crashed.
The rain has muddied the road just enough to trigger a skid out into the ditch. With the children holding on for dear life, the sedan flips and twists back onto its wheels. Out of view, the driver scrambles from the crumpled car and runs into the woods. Deputies begin to chase, but stop when they realize the man wasn't alone.
I need help.
They're stunned to see the kid stuck in the wrecked vehicle.
Send fire and rescue immediately.
Officers quickly go from law enforcers to emergency responders. They pull the younger two from the twisted wreck, followed by the teen climbing out the shattered back window. Incredibly, all three are unharmed by the pulverizing wipeout. After a trip to the hospital, they'll be released to their mother's custody. As for the escaped suspect, he's identified as the mother's boyfriend and gets picked up just days later. Incredibly, the only reason he ran was because he had a suspended license. And for that trivial crime, this scumbag nearly made 3 innocent children pay the price. Stockton, California. The Shedurgeon prison holds the state's most violent offenders under 25. And today, several are about to launch a vicious plan of revenge. As an officer brings men into the day room, an inmate and his sidekick attack. They think the jailer disrespected them the other day. And a responding guard finds out that a third con agrees with his pals. The watchman falls prey to 2 of the prisoners, while the lead thug unloads on his target. As the second officer is pounded into a corner, the sidekick returns to get in more licks on the first jailer. But when a third official charges in, the right-hand man again has to run interference. This time, he botches the job. But the kingpin escapes, honed in on his victim. In the corner, one guard gets the upper hand. His partner comes in from outside, then races to the leader with a baton, and finally clubs the fight out of him. Another official puts the sidekick down with one squirt of pepper spray. As quickly as it started, the showdown is over. Inmates who were watching hurry to clear the floor. A nurse surveys the carnage and finds the guard unconscious. It will take weeks to recover from his injuries. As more officers converge, the legal consequences of this slugfest begin. The 2 primary aggressors get 8 additional years each, and the backup man gets 5 more of his own. This bloody demand for respect gave them less than 60 seconds of satisfaction. And now, they'll be living under the crushing grip of the same guards they brutalized. Which just proves they didn't end up here for being smart. Istanbul, Turkey. Traffic cameras catch the tail end of a road rage incident. Several men have just beaten the driver of this small car and now leave him battered and dazed in the gutter. He struggles to his feet, disoriented, and just wanting to get out of here. He can barely walk. But when one goon launches a second attack, he's the one who gets a ride on the pain train. The bruiser throws himself against the windshield, shattering the glass. But his target makes a quick escape with just one little speed bump. The driver tears away from the run-over punk, leaving him rolling in agony with several broken ribs. His friends hurry to see how badly he's hurt. Istanbul police arrive, and one of the pals tells them their version of what happened. But the surveillance video makes it clear which person was the victim and which one was the bully. And the thing about bullies is, sometimes they get what they deserve. Just ahead, on world's wildest police videos, a gang of nasty rioters gets fired up for mayhem. A wanted felon proves...
Oh, we'll see how this goes.
Desperation knows no boundaries.
And he smashes another fence.
And some crooks take over a food court and wind up eating lead. Next.
On the surface, the job of a police officer has a pretty set schedule. You work a shift that's anywhere from 8 to 12 hours, then you punch out and go on home. But unlike most jobs, being a cop is not a position you can leave at the office. Even though you're off the clock, you're never off duty.
In Sao Paulo, Brazil, a couple of off-duty officers enjoy a meal with friends. But they'll soon have to mix business with pleasure. Next door, two criminals are scoping out the food court for a brazen attack. One of them empties the register, while just off camera, his pal wields a gun. The cocky trigger man even stops to grab a few frozen snacks. But as they exit past the unaware cops, the crooks get even greedier. They decide to rob the customers too, until the police earn some overtime. When this officer sees a gun approaching, he readies his own and gets a point-blank shootout. The thug is hit, and his bud has to dodge lead and flying glass. Incredibly, the perp who was wounded gets off one last shot, almost killing the policeman. But when it's over, it's the outlaw who loses his life, while his accomplice remains at large. Unbelievably, these two were just let out of prison for good behavior. But when they used their newfound freedom to go bad again, cops had to dish out the harshest sentence of all. Kansas City, Missouri. Officers have just spotted a man named Jeffrey Haywood driving this red Jeep with a female passenger. He's wanted on felony warrants in 2 states. The deadbeat charges from patrolmen onto a highway. And he's about to show them just how dangerous he can be. Haywood rockets down the wrong side of the freeway, then veers up an off-ramp. Cops stay close behind. And fortunately, the eyes in the sky have the reckless duo locked in their sights.
There's really no rhyme or reason to what this guy's doing.
Haywood tries to cut through a subdivision. And with four-wheel drive, he's not afraid to get his tires dirty. His off-road rumble quickly turns into a demolition derby.
Oh man, he just took out a fence.
A fence post nearly impales the pair when it pierces the windshield. And the next fence tries to hang these hoods out to dry.
Oh, they're stuck.
But 285 horsepower makes short work of the snag. The wild backyard romp
He smashes another fence.
keeps units on the ground running in circles.
He is so erratic, there's no way of anticipating. Look at that, he just pulled into that front yard, knocks down that lamppost.
The suspect soon blazes a way out.
Oh my goodness, wow.
But up ahead, police have set up a choke point.
The police have a blockade here.
Haywood spots the roadblock and bullies his way through, barely glancing the spikes. Then, he takes another gamble by driving the wrong way into traffic. Pursuing officers back off and turn things over to the chopper. At these speeds, oncoming cars have almost no time to react.
Oh, we'll see how this goes. Oh, a near miss.
The frenzied flight takes them across state lines,
On the bridge now, that's the Missouri River you can see in the background.
where Kansas PD joins the epic pursuit. With their ride sputtering, Haywood and his lady friend pull one more desperate ploy.
So he's failing. He's failing. He's going to bail out here.
Fleeing on foot, the man ditches his partner and scrambles into a burned-out building.
Oh, he's going inside.
Lawmen quickly surround the structure. Now, he's got no rugged ride to bust his way out, and has no luck going up either. After climbing to the roof, the stranded Haywood surrenders and has to wait for the fire department to get him down. With his accomplice also in custody, this two-state felon can look forward to spending the next 9.5 years behind bars. Nothing in his way seemed to deter him. But, like so many other dirtbags,
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
he found the old lesson to be true.
Oh, a near miss.
You can run,
But he's failing. He's failing. He's going to bail out here.
but you can't hide. Still to come on world's wildest police videos.
Guy does not want to be stopped.
A terrorist turns an underground train station into a living hell. An officer hunts for a suspect
Cracked up in a tree.
who's also hunting him. Plus, a gang of vicious kidnappers meets a squad of relentless cops. Next.
Bomb squads have some amazing technology for detecting and disarming explosives. Making a bomb is no longer the domain of a major terrorist organization. Now lone extremists can construct and conceal them as well, making our job harder than ever.
Minsk, Belarus. It's rush hour, and the metro system is as crowded as it gets. The perfect time for a sinister scheme. Just feet from security, a man in a black cap enters, carrying a heavy duffel bag. The surrounding commuters have no idea it's packed with nails, scrap metal, and enough explosives to equal 12 pounds of TNT. The terrorist wants to spread chaos and stir anger toward the government. Hidden in plain sight, he boards a train. And just minutes later, He's in the busiest station in the city, hoping to maximize the destruction. The menace blends right into the unsuspecting crowd and descends to a cramped subway platform. He pauses by a column, surveying his potential victims. Then, anticipating an arriving train, he grabs his duffel and goes to set the trap. The next time he shows up on camera, the bag is gone. The creep stakes out a spot upstairs from the platform, clutching a remote-controlled detonator and waiting for the perfect moment. In his twisted mind, everyone below is a mere pawn to be sacrificed. The shock is unbelievable, and the toll is enormous. The blast erupts near the central staircase, ravaging a waiting train and sending commuters running in fear. On the opposite side of the stairs, dozens more are overtaken by the concussion. Hysteria sweeps through the station as thick smoke chokes the underground complex. For a moment, there's a mad rush for the exits. But soon, people resist the panic and file out calmly, defying the attack. But even as a father comforts his frightened daughter, the villain strolls out of the station unnoticed. Emergency responders scramble to help. The bomb has killed 15 and injured more than 200. But there is some solace for the victims and their families. Thanks to the extensive surveillance evidence, the terrorist and his accomplice are caught by police. They're tried, convicted, and executed for the heinous crime. The vicious madman pulled a cowardly attack, thinking he could start a revolution. Instead, his act came back on himself. And the legacy he craved was blown to bits. In Caldwell, Texas, cops track down a man accused of armed robbery and carjacking. As the lead cruiser peels off, Officer Coogan Hignite follows the perp's dust cloud into a field. He spots his mark and tries to keep pace through the off-road obstacle course.
In the field, we're coming out on 21 westbound.
But when the renegade loses a battle with a tree,
Cranked up in a tree.
Hignite is about to become his next target. Hignite charges in and gets met by a bullet. The crook tries to shoot again, but the clip falls from his gun. Police return fire, striking the culprit 3 times. But the man's lone shot found the cop. Chief Paul Lilly disarms the outlaw and rushes to his friend's aid.
I got hit, sir. I've been shot.
The bullet has gone through Hignite's arm and into his back. He's fortunate to survive, but the suspect will not.
In the field, we're coming out on 21.
The criminal thought a pistol would get him anything he wanted. But when he drew on police, he learned the hard way. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. Up next, on World's Wildest Police Videos, overzealous crusaders give their protest a Viking funeral. And a brutal mugger
This guy does not want to be stopped.
gets mugged by a big rig. It's time to hit crooks where they live. Next. Hallandale Beach, Florida. The man in this SUV, Tyrone Chica, robbed an elderly woman at gunpoint in Miami.
White male driver there.
Now, after running for nearly 20 miles, the mugger still finds police on his tail.
We do have an unmarked car following the vehicle.
Tyrone can't shake these cruisers as easily as a little old lady. Especially when he gets trapped at an intersection.
We might have a takedown here. Oh, we've got a gun drawn.
The cornered thief can barely move a few feet.
A police officer is banging on the side of the vehicle.
But it turns out, that's all he needs.
This guy does not want to be stopped. Those officers are going to have to jump back in their cars now.
He barrels away, putting some distance between himself and authorities. But his success is short-lived, as units catch up to him on the interstate.
This is the overpass for I-95.
So Chica heads back towards surface streets, hoping to try his bully tactics again. Instead, he gets a taste of his own medicine.
Oh, wow, he hits a semi. Smashes in the front of his vehicle.
A hulking tanker cuts him off, knocking the SUV out of commission. Officers order the perp out of his mangled car. But Chica is almost as beaten up as his ride.
All right, he's out now. He collapses to the pavement.
With all the pain he's in, this purse snatcher has finally learned some people you just can't push around. Chica is sentenced to 4.5 years for grand theft and other offenses, which hopefully means his days of bowling everyone over
This guy does not want to be stopped.
have been cut off
Oh, wow, he hits a semi.
for good. East Belfast, Ireland. A controversial religious parade divides the community and triggers an outbreak of violence. Police quickly cordon off the troubled neighborhoods, and the extremists find themselves isolated. They're itching for a sensational confrontation, but cops keep them at bay. Authorities hold the perimeter with powerful water cannons, and a fleet of armored vehicles forms a staunch barrier. Desperate, the disorganized rebels test the line. But rocks don't intimidate the lawmen, and their battering ram is almost laughable. So the rioters turn to a dangerous new weapon: fire, and lots of it. As if a barrage of Molotovs isn't bad enough, the delinquents find another way to ignite chaos. As one drives a stolen car to the front lines, then sets the gas tank ablaze. In seconds, it's a furnace. And the violent act spawns a dangerous encore. Inside the mob, arsonists torch and trash another vehicle. The sedan burns like a bonfire. But the reckless brutes take the madness one step further and set the blazing heap in motion. Like a flaming tank, the hell on wheels careens into the crowd, sending panicked rioters running for their lives. Incredibly, no one is flattened or fried as the fireball slams into a fence. But for this wild mob, it's the beginning of the end.